A little bit. Hey, y'all, God rocks. Jesus is King. Amen. I'm in recovery because sometimes I forget that it's all grace and I try and strive and earn the blessings of God. My name's Dan. Hey, Dan. Today we're going to work with Principle 7. Reserve a daily time with God for self-examination, Bible reading, and prayer in order to know God and His will for my life and to gain the power to follow His will. That was my turn, your turn. Step 11 says, word perfect. Well done. Tonight we talk about relapse. Y'all, the holidays are coming. Whether that fills you with dread, excitement, or a little bit of both, they are coming. And there just couldn't possibly be a better time of year to talk about relapse. So we've got one objective today. That's reducing the likelihood of relapse as much as possible for as many people in this room as possible. And of course, we also have a relapse. People are handing out handouts. You're going to love these, cherish them. There's pens in the back. If you didn't bring a pen, you can grab one. And now would be a great time to do that because I'm going to read the acrostic, which is R, reserve a daily quiet time. E, evaluate. L, listen to Jesus. A, alone and quiet time. P, plug into God's power through prayer. S, slow down long enough to hear God. E, enjoy your growth. You'll also notice that the handouts have page numbers on the bottom because today I may have thought of everything. Also, yes, it is funny to think about. Also, because acrostics are cool, but if we're honest, they're perhaps not always the best, most effective teaching tools. We also have 6 clearly defined practical steps that I'm hoping will increase our resistance to relapse. If you're at the top of page 1 on your handout, that is what we're talking about right now. 1, recognize what relapse really is. It is not an isolated one-time event that pops up from out of nowhere to ruin our lives. Rather, it is the product of a gradual process of emotional, mental, spiritual, and sometimes even physical drift, where we move away from the principles and practices and the steps that have been beneficial for us, and we move back towards our old ways of thinking, believing, and acting. We start to forget the true stories of faith based on God's perfect love for us, and we go back to believing the stories that drive us towards striving, judgment, resentment, self-pity, numbing, and isolation. 2, we're going to talk about reinforcing daily disciplines for prevention. Those are the things that we're putting together all year long, and that's most of what the acrostic is going to focus on. When we talk about reserving a quiet time for R, when we talk about L, listening to Jesus, when we talk about A, alone and quiet time, and when we talk about S, slow down long enough to hear God, those are all disciplines that we want to make sure we reinforce in our lives. 3, we're going to identify personal warning signs and understand some key risk factors. That is E in our acrostic today, the evaluate portion. 4, we're going to encourage dependence on God's power, not willpower. That's P, where we're going to plug into power through prayer. Number 5, we're going to restore hope and grace. That is the E, enjoy your growth. And number 6, we're going to activate a plan for the holidays or this stressful season that we're going into. That one's not in the acrostic. You're just going to have to hang on to that on your own. And because I love you, and because many of us love a good checklist, you'll notice that that first part of the list is formatted as a checklist for you. That's it? I just get one whoop out of all of you? There it is. I'm enabling your reliance on checklists. At least be excited. And even better, the first one you can go ahead and check right off because we have covered already what recognizing a relapse already is. All right, so now we're going to go to R, reserve a daily quiet time with God for self-examination, Bible reading, and prayer in order to know God and His will for my life and to gain the power to follow His will. What's up, Jimbo?
What's up, brother?
Good to see you. You'll see this under checklist item number 2, daily disciplines. And there are so many wonderful, wonderful ways to do this. I don't think any of these are going to be news to you unless you're just joining us recently, and that's cool as well. Daily inventory. Man, I was practicing today and thinking about this, and I'm going to go ahead and say that I honestly believe that if you're not practicing daily inventory, you're not seriously engaged in your recovery. It's that important. It's been that important in my life. It's that important in the lives of a lot of people. I know it's different. It's unusual. You need to be consistent with it, but man, it's just so important. Otherwise, it's like driving around with your eyes closed. You don't know what's going on in your life, and you can't pay attention well. Bible reading plans, they are all over the place, dozens of them. I use the Bible Recap with Tara Lee. Your CR publishes a daily devotional book. It's pre-set up. It's got one every day to help you do exactly this. Or you can do what you already do. Just be aware that this is a season to do those things with a little bit of extra consistency because it's a season of high stress and danger. The key is scheduling the time. Put a reminder in your phone, put reminders on your calendar, whatever it is that works for you. Just understand that it's never going to happen naturally, organically. You have to schedule the time for this stuff to happen. E is for evaluate. This falls under your 3rd checklist item. Identify personal warning signs and understanding key risk factors. Evaluate your physical, your emotional, your relational, and your spiritual health using the HEART method. You may have heard of this before. It's really popular. Ask yourself throughout the day, just throughout the day, and especially whenever you're feeling temptation or resentment or depression, am I hurting? Am I exhausted? Am I angry? Am I resentful? Am I tense? Just being aware of that can cue you into the fact that, yeah, you're in a little bit of danger now. You're in a risk factor. Lean into those disciplines that go with these things. Yeah, I'm hurting, I'm all exhausted, angry, resentful, or tense. Now would be a good time for me to stop and pray. Now is not a good time for me to make a life-changing decision. Now is not a good time for me to be honest with that guy who's been ticking me off at work, right? Now is not time for me to have a heart-to-heart conversation with my wife or my kids. Now is time for me to hit the circuit breaker, to relax, to be centered for a while. All right, in addition to the HEART method, we're going to walk through 7 risk factors. And I've given you a little bit of space on your worksheet, your handout, and I'm going to give you just a little bit of time for each of these to jot down even 1 or 2. So don't listen passively, listen actively. Have that pen in your hand, have your sheet ready to go, and ask yourself, what kind of environmental triggers do I have in my life? What environmental triggers do I need to be on the lookout for, at least through New Year's? Environmental triggers can be places, can be being in places or around people that are associated with your past dysfunctional habits. And since in this room we're talking about all kinds of habits, this isn't limited to bars or where you used to score or old friends who use or enable or certain neighborhoods. These environments could be family. They could be work. For some of us, they could be the gym. I'm looking at everybody in here who's bigger than me with judgment and suspicion. These people down here get the jokes. I'm not sure what's going on with all the rest of you. Engage. I'm being funny up here. Come on. There it is. It's like all the people that were at your brother's wedding. They just didn't understand all the funny stuff I said. Yeah, I'll keep bringing that up. I'm hurt. I've got a hurt. Anyway, sorry. This is about me all of a sudden. Work, the gym, could be Bible study, right? 2, emotional triggers. Unmanaged stress, anxiety, or depression. Sorry, did I give you enough time for 1? Okay, pause. Dan's pausing. Write down 1, 2, 3 environmental triggers that you might have in your life. This is cool. People are writing stuff down. Right on. All right, keep in mind that you are free to return to this after your open share group tonight and think through this on your own. right? It's kind of like we're giving you some time in class to work on this, but then also you have time outside of class. Emotional triggers. So think about, write down some things that trigger you emotionally, whether they're on my list or not. But my list includes unmanaged stress, anxiety. What brings you anxiety? When do you tend to step into depression, or when does depression tend to come after you? Feelings of anger, resentment, shame, loneliness, boredom, isolation. I'm going to go through those again, so just pick the ones that seem familiar to you, where you might run into these things. Unmanaged stress, anxiety, depression, anger, resentment, shame, loneliness, boredom, isolation. Number 3, where do you foresee the possibility in your life of encountering social and relationship stress? What kind of toxic relationships do you need to be aware of? We can't always extract ourselves immediately and completely from toxic relationships. Sometimes that's a process, but we can stay aware of them. Where is there unresolved conflict with you, with your friends, with your family, at work? Where do you encounter peer pressure or social situations that normalize unhealthy behavior? If gambling is your issue, now it's not a great time to start hanging around in the sports book and drinking beer. Watch out for skipping meetings because it's busy. Watch out for not being at CR. Watch out for not staying for your open share group. Those things invite you into isolation, loss of community or accountability. Number 4, this one's a little quicker, I think. Look out for overconfidence or complacency, believing that you're cured. Hey, you're probably in way better shape than you were last year in November and December if you've been coming here for the last 8 or 9 months. But that journey's not over. What's the quote we say in here all the time? I had it in my notes, but I took it out. Because if you're feeling good, watch out, or else you may stumble. Joe, you know it. You know all Scripture. That you fall. Marissa making it a little bit better as she does. So don't neglect your daily disciplines like prayer, journaling, step work, those sorts of things. List a few of your physical and lifestyle factors. Did you get enough time for 4? Do you want me to stop for a bit? Looks like we're all good. Physical and lifestyle factors. When in the next 3 months are you likely to run into fatigue? Where are you going to have a challenge potentially with poor sleep? Hunger. Being hangry is not just a thing we talk about on the internet. It's a real deal. I talked to a good friend of mine just this last week about some stuff that happened when they were hangry that they probably wish they had waited to talk about until they weren't. If you're dealing with chronic pain, be aware of that as well. If you're struggling to keep up with your exercise routine or your nutritional plan, now is a great time to lean in and make those things a priority. Now is a great time to be extra vigilant of the substances you're putting in your body. Watch out for substances. Using or overusing substances, even mild ones, even caffeine. It can be a problem. Anything that takes you out of your groove and weakens your decision making. Watch out for spiritual drift. We're going to talk about solutions for spiritual drift coming up, but it's as simple as neglecting time with God, neglecting your prayer time, neglecting your community worship time. Where are there going to be days or weekends where you're challenged to say, oh, I'm not making it to church this week. I'm not making it to CR this Monday. It's not a guilt or a shame message. There may very well be a Sunday where your best choice is not coming to church. Maybe. It can also be letting guilt or shame distance you from God's grace and God's love. So do you need to jot down under that category, man, I'm in danger of feeling some serious guilt or shame here. Watch out for those things. And finally, be aware of major life changes or crises. Grief, loss, financial stress, job changes, illness, relocation. Also big successes. They can knock you right out of your groove, just like big losses or big changes can. Victory can bring vulnerability. Man, that was really reinforcing for me to see just a huge percentage of the room participating right, man. Thank you so much. Believe it or not, a lot of thought and effort goes on to putting on CR and putting together these messages. So to know that you're engaged, thank you very much. Also, clearly, recognizing when you're at risk or under stress isn't the end of the process. Those are flags. They bring our attention to the things that need to be dealt with. They're invitations for you to take specific actions. So the rest of the acrostic contains some solid ideas. This is my invitation to you to hold yourself accountable for your outcomes, to do the things that you believe are going to give you the greatest percentage chance of living the life you want to live between now and the beginning of the new year. L is the next letter in our acrostic. I'll admit I had to do a little bending and stretching to get the content I wanted to in under the word letter, or under the letter L. It stands for listen to Jesus, or as I've written in my notes, not the enemy, or however you conceptualize the negative force of sin acting in our world. As we've talked about a few times in here, and as we're going to continue to talk about because I found it to be a key concept in life. Life consists of facts, and it consists of stories. Right? There's a few facts, there's a lot of stories. The stories are everything else we use to wrap those stories and give them meaning. To listen to Jesus, we need to be able to develop our ability to distinguish between those two things, and again, hold ourselves accountable for taking an active role in the decisions we make in our life. You are not, or at least you do not have to be, the victim. Victims suffer. So to begin the process of avoiding being that victim, start working on how you distinguish facts from stories. So how do we do that? How can we tell facts from stories? Facts are we're on side 2 now. Oh, no, we're not. I'm a little early. That's all right. It's on there, but anyway. Facts are objective, they're observable, they're measurable, they're irrefutable. If you had 100 reliable, competent witnesses, they would all agree 100% of the time on things that are facts. Facts can support many, many different interpretations or meanings. Stories are the meanings that we give to those facts, the judgments that we make, the virtues and defects of character that we assign either to ourselves or to the other people involved in what's going on. It's not a fact if Tanya, I've been back there, y'all. You've done a hard job. It's the booth. It seems like it would be easy, right? But you've got to pay attention. For many of us, that's hard. It's not a fact if there are any feelings associated with it. Conclusions, opinions, or perspectives, judgments, good or bad, or attributions. Stories are everything that are not facts. They define our feelings and actions. They shape our experience of life and how we respond to our circumstances. And the other thing you need to know that's not in your handout, it's not up there, is, man, the stories get piled on those facts just so quickly that they feel like they are part of the factual world. We're not aware of this storytelling process. So you've got to intentionally build this way of thinking into your life over time. You're not going to be great at it today, but you're going to be better than you were yesterday. And each day, you've got the opportunity to make some incremental improvements. And we're going to practice some of it here in just a minute. So be aware that stories that drag us towards relapse, and these are familiar concepts, they create fear. That fear creates the desire to strive rather than trust God. Those stories create resentment, self-pity, the need to numb, and isolation. Familiar concepts. Now, we can use some of the stories that are on your handout to defeat those some of the questions on your handout to help defeat some of those unhelpful stories. We can ask, hey man, just get in the habit of these. I'm thrilled that this piece is on your handout. Just keep this handy. Look at it frequently until it becomes a part of the way of your thinking. Man, I'm feeling a resentment, I'm angry, I'm depressed, I'm mad at somebody or something. I'm not living in peace like I want to. Well, let me ask, why might a reasonable, rational, decent person do this thing that's generating my resentment? Have some empathy. Make that person human again rather than just making them the villain and yourself the victim. Ask yourself, what am I ignoring or not noticing about my role in the problem, the problem, right? Part of our inventory process. What was my part? What part am I playing in this? These next two are a little deeper, a little tougher. Maybe you won't grasp these right away, but if you keep thinking about it, what needs do that person and I have in common? Right? Again, it's building of empathy. That's a human being. They're not a villain. You don't have to be the victim. Next slide. Which of our needs aren't being met? If you can get down to the bottom of figuring out, man, these are the needs that Ashley has. They're not being met. That's why she's torqued. These are my needs. They're not being met. If Ashley and I can have a conversation about what our actual needs are, then we can start to do things to address those needs, and no one needs to be the bad guy. Everybody gets to lead a better life. What do I have to change in order to see both of us as Imago Dei, image of Christ? Again, that's a deep one. That's one you're probably going to have to work with over time. But man, ask yourself that question a few times over the course of this week. For me, I've gotten way, way better at road rage. I'm pretty good. When people cut me off, I can come up with reasons why they might be driving that way today. And I can remind myself that that person is also the image of Christ. But it took time. Ask yourself, what do I really want? Do I want to be right and vindictive and get revenge and punish that other person and recognize that I'm being persecuted and treated unfairly so I can really feel like crap? Or is there something better? Is there a higher standard to achieve, to aspire to live out in your life? And then finally, this is a great one and an easy one, and one of us we can all employ on a regular basis. What should I do right now to maintain or improve my recovery? That's a choice that's in front of us all the time, every day. All right, stories that support recovery. They center on unconditional on the unconditional and inescapable nature of God's love. They encourage community. If it's moving you away from people, unless they're really dysfunctional, it's bad. If it's moving you towards church, picnics in the park, celebrate recovery, accountability partners, good conversations with close friends, that's good. Those stories, they provide hope. They allow for suffering as part of the human experience rather than just chalking it up to persecution. All right, here we go. This is the exciting part. Everybody get your phones out, please. Another awesome opportunity to participate. We're trying to institute some better pedagogical practices, some better teaching and learning practices. So hit that QR code. This is brand new software, so be patient to see how this goes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a poll asking a bunch of questions, and the answers are always going to be either that's a fact, that's a resilience building story, or it's a victim story. All right, everybody got the QR code? Because we're going to put the results page up here, and then you're not going to be able to see the QR code anymore. Okay, give it a second. Not yet. A few folks weren't sure whether they wanted to participate or not, but then when they heard they might be missing out if they didn't, FOMO took over. I like it. FOMO is a teaching tool. I'm in. All right, everybody good? All right, Tanya, this is the big moment and she's nailed it. Woo! Oh, and look at participation. You guys are killing this. We can talk offline. Or anyway, we'll figure it out. You guys are doing great. This is awesome. So the first question, here comes the holiday season. I just looked at my calendar, and between work, parties, gifts, visiting family, and stuff I need to get done around the house, I'm going to be very busy. I should also admit that there are a couple people in the room who are experts on this topic. It's part of a book called Nonviolent Communication. So I may give answers that they deem to be wrong. You may hear loud objections from the back of the room. Understand that they don't hate me. They're not making fun of me. They're just trying to help me do better. And they're trying to protect you from me teaching you poorly. That's okay. I think the answer that most aligns with the way I understand this is that that is a fact. Here comes the holiday season. I just looked at my calendar between work, parties, gifts, visiting families, and stuff I need to get done around the house. I'm going to be very busy. 2, the holidays are packed with stress and disappointment. I'm never going to make it without a drink or my drug of choice or relapsing into affirmation seeking or striving or whatever else it might be. What'd you say? It's a fact. If Uncle Lino were here, I would blame that on him. It's a fact. Yeah, well, it may be a fact for some people in this room, but that's not according to the theory that we're working with. Awesome. All right, moving on to question 3. You know what? Everything may not get done, and that's just going to have to be okay. I like it. This is a good opportunity for me to be vulnerable. I put this all together. I put it all in the slides and the thing and built it to the point where I couldn't change it. And I thought, I intended that to be a resilience building story, but you could maybe look at that as fact. No, I think it's a resilience building story, right? Well, because 100 competent witnesses wouldn't necessarily all agree that's going to be a fact for sure. There might be some disagreement there. That discludes it from being a fact. You didn't get to vote?
No, it's still loading.
Shoot.
So it's why you don't have 100% of that.
Okay, all right. Thank you for taking me off the hook. Feeling bad that people weren't participating. I'm sorry if some folks are having a hard time getting their stuff to load. Maybe try switching to, if you're on the Wi-Fi, it's been spotty today, try switching to cellular. Question number 4. Based on my past experience, many people I'm going to be around over the holidays are likely to have high expectations. This is great. I can't wait to have a debrief with the guys in the back of the room when you really know what they're doing. Full disclosure, I didn't have, well, I don't know if I'm making excuses for myself or not. I just want to say that I worked on this right up until like 5:30 tonight. So I possess the wisdom to take stuff like this to my mentors. I just did not possess the time this time around. I meant to write that as a fact. So take that as you will. Number 5, I'm going to do my best to enjoy doing my best and let everyone else be responsible for their own experiences. I know the right answer to this one. Oh my gosh. The first option should be fact. The second option should be resilience building story. The third option should be victim story. And if you got it wrong, you can just claim you didn't understand the answer choices. Right now, I'm telling myself wonderfully resilient building stories about God's grace and my ability to be human and vulnerable on stage. Yes, that one is definitely evaluate. It's a resilience building story in my mind. Number 6, my spouse cares so much about work, friends, family this time of year. You know why? Because they just don't care about me. Personally, I'm just relieved I've got the answer choices correct. Fact. I'm also now looking through the room, identifying the people who answered fact to that. I know who you are. I'm trying not to make eye contact. Well, the good news is that most of us recognize that as a victim story. Number 7, my spouse and I are both facing a busy season. This is a great time for me to be intentional about communicating plans and expectations clearly. I like that lots of us think that this is a fact. I'm going to go back to my same reasoning as before. It's definitely a resilience blaming story. A resilience building story. Is it time to move on? All right. I got a whole bunch more questions, but we can't dally anymore. That's fun though, right? All right, good. We're going to do more of this in the future. And if you want, you can get with me later on. I can send you the rest of the questions. But cool. And thank you for keeping me on pace. Yeah, I would have gone all night. Cool. All right. So moving on to affirmation statements. These are super, super helpful. They're on your handout. When you get to feeling shame and guilt and just these things that you identify about yourself that may or may not be true, that are just dragging you down, you know, because some of the stuff that I really dislike about myself is actually true sometimes. So so write those things in here. Read them out loud is the key. Even though I am selfish, I am loved and accepted by God. Even though I am lazy, I love and accept myself. Even though I'm stuffed full of pride, I trust you, Lord. I'm telling you some simple things. Man, if you take nothing else away from tonight, take those 3 affirmation statements. They really work. Catherine Scourgia gets credit for those. I did not come up with them on my own. Alone and quiet time. Super, super briefly. It's really, really important. My favorite professor encouraged us to take 20 minutes to sit in silence and solitude every day. If that's hard for you, start with a minute. Work up from there. Being silent in your car doesn't count because you're still distracted. Bring a notebook with you because your head is going to fill up with your to-do list. Write down your to-do list. Once it's on paper, you're good to go. Go back to your quiet time. Don't worry about being distracted. Don't worry about the destructive thoughts that the enemy crashes into your head. P, plug into God's power through prayer. As we've just talked about, prayer is clearly not the only solution, but it's definitely a big part of the solution. Has been for me and many other people. There are so many ways to plug into prayer. Google the 12-step prayers. Pray along. If you don't get the 11-step prayer that's by St. Francis, Google that one separately. I'm going to stop there in the name of time, but man, pray, pray, pray. Keep in mind that you're not giving God instructions. You're instead... What? You're not giving God instructions. You're instead seeking God's will. You can certainly list out all the things you're hoping for, but hold them with hope in hands, right? Remember that expectations are just premeditated resentments. We listen a lot better when we're not making demands. S, slow down long enough to hear God, he says as he's rushing through the end of his lesson. Slow down, cultivate boredom. Take breaks from being productive. Where's my overly productive friends? Yes. Only some of you are raising your hands. You know who you are. Take breaks from that. Take more time. Cover less ground. From Thomas Merton. Enjoy your growth. You need to enjoy your life and celebrate even your smallest victories. Without joy and celebration, your motivation to stay with your recovery will fail and fade. A few final suggestions. Pray and read your Bible daily. Make attending your recovery meeting an absolute rock in the river that life has to flow around. Spend time with your family if they're safe. Get involved in service. Yeah, you know what? I've got all the scriptures stacked here at the end. I'm going to read them into the record. You can use Colossians 3:16, Mark 14:38. This is all going to be on the internet later. 1 Thessalonians 5:21, Galatians 6:4, Isaiah 1:10, Psalm 46:10, Philippians 4:4-7, Job 33:33, and 1 Thessalonians 5:16. Again, you should all have my cell phone number. It's 702-343-6628. I did go fast. That was a choice I made. Text me if you want those scriptures. And with that, I'm going to get off the stage. Thanks so much. Joe goes super fast.
Super fast.
Super fast.
Thank you, Pastor Dan.
We have chip huggers. Did you like that? Thank you.